It was only a matter of time. In only moments the flesh-eating beast would come crashing through the home's front door. They were sure to rip through the house until they found their next meal. They weren't stupid, so there was no giving up until they did so. Like it was said before, it was only a matter of time. On the top floor, 3 scared human beings sat. The sweat rolled off their noses, sometimes shaking off every time a beast slammed itself against the front door. Strangely enough, for all of them being in the same situation, there were 3 separate thoughts, 3 mistakes that made each individual think it was their fault about why they were in this predicament. The father was currently thinking about the bloodied baseball bat in the front lawn and how he could have used it when they finally got in. The feeling of not being able to protect his wife and a single child was going to haunt him up until the last moment. He grabbed his family tightly. The mother was thinking about every way she could throw herself in front of the child. She would be damned if she saw her child go before her. Her eyes darted around the room for a hiding spot, finding nothing in return. She began to sob lightly. The daughter, only in her teens, knew nothing but to be scared. In her head, these monsters were truly monsters. She had seen them rip flesh with ease before, and she had never been the same since. Although scared, she was brave. Not a single tear fell from her face. In her head, she was just as ready to protect her family as they were. Another slam made the house shake. This time, wooden splinters fell from the door. They had cracked the frame. The integrity of the door was wearing very thin. This set the father into action, and he ushered his family into a bedroom. They complied, and as they crossed the threshold from the hallway to the bedroom, another slam, more wood hitting the floor. But this time, it felt and sounded different, like the door could only take one more hit. The father pushed his family further into the room and slammed the door shut in their faces. The mother ran to the door screaming, begging for her love to come to the other side with them. But he held the doorknob. He knew that he was their final stand. The mother immediately stopped when she heard the front door come crashing to the ground. She instead ran for her daughter and covered her ears. The father held his breath and listened close. The beast downstairs took no time to wait. They began ripping through the entirety of the first floor, and they sounded as if the stairs was the next step. The father looked down and saw a sturdy wooden stand. He picked it up and slammed it to the ground. When it broke apart, he bent down and grabbed a leg. As he stood back up, to his horror, a broken and bloody man stood at the top of the stairs, one of the beasts nonetheless. Before the man could even react, the bloodthirsty man came running at breakneck speed. The father got one good swing in before the next 3 monsters came running up the stairs. Sounds of struggle turned into a full-grown man screaming. The mother felt like throwing up. She knew that her husband was gone. She began looking around the room for a hiding place once again. Her eyes fell upon a large wardrobe. It was perfect for her daughter. She urged for her daughter to run to the wardrobe. She swung the doors open and forced her daughter in. The daughter was greeted with darkness and a loud boom. She tried listening but had to cover her ears when a second slam followed. Her mother's screams were ear-piercing. She could hear her mother run for the other side of the room. It sounded like a window was being slid open, but it all came to an abrupt stop. The sound of a body hitting the floor rang out and more screams followed. The daughter was now sure of it that both of her parents were gone. She closed her eyes and felt the blood rushing through her ears. She could hear the crunching of bones and that all too familiar sound of flesh tearing. It was all too much to handle, and she started to cry. The feeling of dread was terrible, and the control of her sobbing was slowly slipping. Unwillingly, the daughter let out an audible sniffle. Everything in the entire house stopped. The beasts had heard, and they were now listening. The crunching and tearing stopped, soon replaced with rapid footsteps. A pair of feet left the room, and it sounded like 2 more pairs had entered. They were highly suspicious that they had missed a meal. The girl knew she had made a terrible mistake. Before she knew it, the sound of a rough hand slid across the door of the wardrobe.